I'm in Old Town Alexandria. I got my electric assist bike rental. We're going to go on the Mount Vernon Trail south of Alexandria. Alright, there's the mighty Potomac, and there's one of the water taxis. Alright, we'll do one of our day things on the water taxi, yeah. So the D.C. area, he made it look pretty smooth. Although I hear a lot of wind noise in my ear. I don't know if the microphone's picking that up. Alright, this is Jones Point. That bridge is the Woodrow Wilson Bridge. It carries 495 over the river. You can walk on one side of it. We're going to go under the bridge. Well, I'm doing 16 miles an hour. The speed limit on this trail is 15. I gotta watch that. It's very easy to speed on this thing. As I experiment with this, my first time on an e-bike, the Senate is hashing out the big ugly bill. When I got out of the car on WTOP, they were talking about Democrats are attaching every amendment they can. They probably won't get any attached, but it sure is a delaying tactic. The American people are screwed because Republicans have a majority in both houses of Congress. But what a slap in the face of Mr. Trump if it's not approved by Friday, 4th of July. He's all about the symbology. He doesn't give a crap about the American people. When you hear that whining noise, that's the engine doing it. That's the engine doing the work. And when you don't hear it, I'm either gliding or pedaling. Right now I'm doing a little bit of both. I've walked or jogged this route many times. I've driven the route many times. This is the first time I'm having electricity help me. Alright, this is the Mount Vernon Trail, and it handrails the George Washington Memorial Parkway on the right and the Potomac River on the left. Miles an hour here. You should pass him on the left. You should get him an audio noise like that, or if you don't have one of those, you should say on your left or passing on your left. In fact, we'll probably see a lot of the dead scooters on this trail. I'm going to Mount Vernon. I think it's like 9 miles from Old Town to Mount Vernon. A few areas where you can park your boat. If you have a big boat, a little boat. There's some Canadians over there. Now, it used to be when I jogged here, these water fountains were powered. The last few times, no water. So I have my 1 liter ginger ale bottle filled up with filtered tap water. So if I get hot, although I have free air conditioning, I'm making the wind move around me. I'm not really doing any work here. We're near the Bellevue neighborhood of Alexandria in Fairfax County, and there's a boat launch here. We're going to take a little detour from the trail and show you the boat launch area. Dyke Marsh is a nice little walk. I wouldn't call it a hike, it's less than a mile. There's the launch over there. A lot of people park and dock their boats over here. I think there might be canoe and kayak rentals, if I'm not mistaken. Once again, this is the Potomac River. Ouch. Like any bicycle, they lack a little bit in the shock absorber. Of course, got a nice fat seat for my old ass. Those banana seats, they don't really work so much for me anymore. You may have seen from my last few vlog type videos, I am 60 years old. Oh, by the way, today is the 30th of June. It's Monday, 2025. Now we're going to get back on the trail here. Oh, he's turned, so I'm going to go. Now that sign said no motorized vehicles, but the shop owner said that I was okay here. So I guess electric's not really motorized. Back on the Mount Vernon Trail for bikers, hikers, walkers, joggers. And those various groups sometimes get into little arguments about who has right of way. The truth is, I can ride over there, as can a regular bike. So pedestrians should have right of way here. Not a lot of the regular bikers understand that. We're cruising along at 12 miles an hour. I must say a little bit faster than if I was pedaling a normal bike. 'Creeping up on the speed, I just went over 15. Gotta watch that, gotta obey the rules. So we just traveled a mile. If you remember that last marker we saw, what was that? Was that Jones Point? I don't remember where that was now. I think it was right after we came out of Jones Point. Bridge is slippery when wet. That's what she said. Alright, here we go. Probably tracking a beaver or a turtle. A lot of wildlife down here in this marsh. Hello. See, he's using good old-fashioned leg power, and he's going faster than me. That'll tell you how old and out of shape I am. What if I try to pedal? Can I keep up with him with pedal? Okay, I'm pedaling now. I'm pedaling. Yeah, he's still kicking my ass. All right. That's why I'm not racing. If I was, I'd just kick in the electric. Now tell me honestly, if you saw either of my hiking videos of recent, isn't this much better? I think I'm enjoying it more. Although, climbing over those boulders, it is a good workout. And when you get to be my age, you got to keep the body in shape. But after 3 days of physical activity, I think I'll take the geezer out. And I want to ride my bicycle. I want to ride my bike. Who did that? Was that that was Queen, right? I'm running both my goggles camera and my body camera. I won't know which is better until I get home and compare. I saw with the kayaking and with the first hiking video, switching between cameras, actually no, just a kayaking one, I ended up playing the same stuff twice. I'm going to try and avoid that. If I go back and forth between the two cameras, I will take extra care to make sure you're only seeing me pass that gentleman or that gentleman once. My good friend Muckster, he hates it when I'm repetitive. And, oh, by the way, my good friend Muckster, he hates it when I'm repetitive. While we're on that topic, you know Muckster, he doesn't like it so much when I say the same thing over and over again. He hates it when I'm repetitive. That was for you, Muckster. He hates my repetitivity so much he's probably not even watching. Wow, that has some fat tires. if you can. My eyes. Oh, yeah, screwed it up. That gentleman reminded me of the movie Hair, or the Broadway show. Have you seen a mile marker lately? Oh, there's one up there. Where we passed 8 and 7, so this should be 6. Yeah, so it's 6 miles to the Mount Vernon starting point. As far as being on the trail, not the parkway over there, this is probably the best time I've ever made, even with a regular bike. That's good. It keeps my video good and short so you can watch something else. What do you think? Should I take a detour at Fort Hunt? Or should I stay on the trail? How about we stay on the trail, and if we have time, we'll do the Fort Hunt on the way back. By the way, those rocks I climbed over both Friday and Sunday, I'm feeling it. You think it's just your arms, but I feel it in my abs. It's a good ab workout. Because you're really using all parts of your body as you grasp little stone jettisons or whatever it is you pull yourself up or pull yourself over. So you don't realize it until the next day, and you're like, oh, I forgot I had muscles there. Reduce speed. Alright. How do you know how fast I was going in the first place? Now that's a hat. I'm actually quite surprised I haven't seen any Dutch scooters yet. Usually by now you see 3 or 4 of them. It's Monday. Maybe they picked them all up over the weekend. I didn't think about that. I feel sorry for the people who go around looking for them to pick them up and recharge them. Oh, nice homes here. Yeah, if you guys super chat me, remember I want to retire in one of these homes down here by the river. Very nice down there. Oh, let me get up. I'm sorry. Good. Alright. Let's take you through that neighborhood. See how the other half lives. There's one place. Hey, they're supporting Ukraine. Cool. Private drive. Very ritzy houses down here. If you go down the private drives, you see some really nice ones. Look over the water. Alright. Alright, we're going to get back on the trail here after this stone bridge. And that's the George Washington Memorial Parkway. And now we're going to be on the other side of the parkway for a while. Interesting. That phone number is a Washington D.C. number, which is north a few miles and across the river. So you're gonna call a DC number if you get into accidents out here? I don't think so. I think I'm gonna call Fairfax. Oh, we're at mile 5 now. 5 miles to Mount Vernon, or the parking lot. Alright, mile marker 4 miles to Mount Vernon. Mugster, Killing Time, Ariel, them guys. This is before Nikki's time. We did a live stream where I hiked from Mount Vernon to this point and turned around. Notice how much quicker this is going to be. I'm cooking with electricity here. going to be burning. Sunburn. Ooh. Yeah, these things could use a little bit of shocks. Or am I just being a wussy? Half miles to Mount Vernon, by car at least. Slow down, Tinkle.
is doing free concerts every Sunday at 7 p.m. all summer long. Up there is Fort Hunt Park. We'll stop by on the way back.
See if we can get the echo down in here. I don't know why I do that when I go through that tunnel. Andy Griffith whistle. There's a good view of the Potomac. It's very wide here. A lot calmer than what you saw the other time. A lot easier to kayak in. There we go. Yeah, I saw that one coming. Miles to Mount Vernon. This is the Mount Vernon Plantation parking area. That's the Mount Vernon Plantation entrance. Now, I have realized that I have dropped my cell phone somewhere back there. You see, I had it before Fort Hunt, and I discovered it was missing by the time I was 3 miles out. I want to go back and see if I can find my cell phone. Probably one of the times I stood up, it was in my back pocket.
Once upon a time when Washington D.C. was a full diamond, this was one corner of the diamond. Now it's all Virginia. Over there is National Harbor. That's the Gaylord Hotel. That's a pretty big flag to fly today. And this is the old Jones Point lighthouse. Pedigo electric bikes. That was a blast. All right. Lessons learned. Vlogging or video from a bicycle. Some kind of gimbal. Very rough. Very rough. Want to do a shout out for renting my first e-bike, electric bike, to Pedigo Electric Bikes in Alexandria. They hooked me up. I mean, they taught me everything I needed to know. They helped me rearrange my backpack. They're in Alexandria. I think they're a chain, but the store here in Alexandria really hooked me up. They did a great job. The guy was super attentive. Made sure I knew what I was doing. Made sure I knew, he found out where I was going, Mount Vernon back. He told me some of the trick spots in the area. He told me the speed limits on the trail. As a former walker and jogger, I didn't know they had speed limits, but yeah, it's 15 miles an hour. These suckers will do 20 faster if you're going downhill, and no effort at all to the rider. So Pedigo electric bikes, you can rent or buy, and they will hook you up. Definitely take care of you. Now, the guy is very customer oriented. So he's so empathetic that when you heard I lost my cell phone, it seemed like it was ruining his day. He was looking for ways that he could make it up to me. It had nothing to do with you except that I was riding your bike. I put it in my back pocket. He showed me how to secure my backpack. He secured my backpack for me. But like a dumbass, I had my iPhone in my back pocket, a back pocket with a button, and I didn't button it. So as I'm riding the bike, I take a stop and I check my pocket for my phone. I wanted to see what the time and temperature was, and the phone was gone. Well, I went through with the ride, came back, and I mentioned it to him. I wasn't blaming him, but he was so empathetic. I think it was ruining his day. Long story short, I got my iPhone back, and it wasn't Pedigo's fault at all. Finkel was a dumbass. Finkel didn't secure his iPhone. I've been doing a lot of outdoor activity lately. It could have happened at Great Falls on my hike. Could have happened at Lake Accotink on my kayak ride. Could have happened anywhere. In fact, Lake Accotink, that should have been the wake-up call, because it did happen. I left it in the car and didn't realize it until I got back. Okay, so the iPhone is recovered. The bike ride was a lot of fun, and I got scared. I went to, when I got back to the house, the first thing I did was on my personal email all my friends and family, coworkers, use my my work cell phone until I retrieve or replace my iPhone. So the phone number you're familiar with, don't use that until probably 24, 48 hours. I figured if I didn't find out where it was by this time tomorrow, the next day I was going to make a purchase. Okay, by Finkel decree, I decree we have to change the internet nickname Karen. Okay. We've come to know on the internet a Karen as somebody who wants to speak to your manager, isn't satisfied with the service. People overreacting to the smallest issues. Well, the savior of my iPhone, her name is Karen, and she's so nice. We got to change that internet thing because it doesn't fit for our Karen. Our Karen saved the day. This is the Pedigo website. Pedigo website, and that's where they're at in Old Town Alexandria. But anyway, emailed everybody, both personal and internet. Don't use my regular number for a couple days, and then I got a call. Karen's in my contact list as phone finder. She found my phone, and she said you guys were blowing up my texts, so she turned the phone off. But she made arrangements to meet me and return my phone. You guys on YouTube, come on, you clowns. Who the hell is Franco? And why would you want her to give the phone to someone named Franco? Geez, when I got the phone back and turned it on, it was packed with messages. Everybody was texting me, knowing that I couldn't see them because I didn't have my phone. You guys are funny. You guys are real funny. Okay, so I met Karen. The shopping center where I met her, we're renaming that shopping center the Cell Phone Reunification Center because I wasn't the only iPhone. I wasn't the only smartphone found that day. Actually, I'm not sure when the others were found, but they were being. We all met. I'm not the only guy who lost his iPhone, and so she's passing out iPhones, and each one had a cute story. This one, the one I lost today, I think she said Asian. A lady was jogging who did not speak English, and she found this. And she knows they ain't cheap. They ain't cheap. But she doesn't speak English. And when she encountered Karen, she recognized that Karen speaks English and could probably, communicate with people to figure out who the owner of this bad boy is. So she gave it to Karen. Karen made the steps. Did you know you can tell Siri to call you? I didn't realize it. In my contact card for myself, it's got my work phone, my cell phone, it's got my Google Voice phone. So when she told Siri to call my emergency contact, my work phone was one of the phones that ring. Pretty cool. I didn't even realize I set it up that way. That's how she called me. And she was so sweet. She wasn't just retrieving and returning my phone. She was doing it for other people too. Amazing. A lot of people these days, well, the lady who doesn't speak English and Karen, a lot of people these days would find a way to profit off of this if it was laying on the trail, halfway up the Mount Vernon Trail, and no one around to witness you finding it. Thank you, Karen, and thank you, unnamed lady who doesn't speak English out there. There are good people in this world. They do exist. Well, okay, that was today's vlog, and tomorrow I think is an ice protest. Yes, tomorrow I'll be doing an ice protest. Don't know if I'll put it on this channel or the other channel, but well, I'm sorry. When you see this at 6 p.m. tomorrow, the ice protest would have been that morning, so you actually won't. I'll set this up to release at 6 p.m. Y'all have a good night. I need a shower. Even when you let the electric bike do all the work, it's hot out there. It is very, very hot. Well, that's all for now. Cheerio.